Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365.
I kind of love the fact that that is our... I mean, I love that we have a presenting sponsor.
Yeah.
It's great. But the fact that their tagline is never ordinary, it fits the Flyers so well.
It really, we needed to get, I've seen the, I'm Bill Matz, I'm your director of fun and games. That's Charlie O'Connor, Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter. We need to get, like, I've seen a bunch of the Phillies guys, like Jamie has like specialized parlays and stuff for the Phils. We got to somehow put that together with the Flyers where it's like, a fight, two Michkov goals.
Can we bet on healthy scratches? Futures bets on healthy scratches.
That would be awesome if we could have futures. Like John Tortorella when he quits is it before or after Christmas? Over under Christmas. Anyway, we have a lot to get to today, Charlie. We got some interesting some very Tortorella comments. Honestly, it's just being very blunt.
Torts was not holding back today in a good way.
Yeah,
he was giving some legitimate information. Sometimes there are days where you can tell it's not that he has a filter normally, but there are some days he cares more about what he's going to say and what he's not going to say. There's other days where you can just tell that whatever you ask him, he's going to give his honest answer without any filter whatsoever. Today was one of those days, so you're just like, all right, just keep tossing him players, see what he says.
Just keep saying, we have him. We have him today. It's happy Torts. Keep asking him questions.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we got a lot of stuff today. So I'm going to start. We will get to last night's game eventually. But honestly, it's too nice of a day outside to start there.
Yeah, it was not a nice game.
Yeah, no, it was horrible.
Not in any way, shape, or form.
So let's start with some of the roster battles. I want to start at forward.
Okay, which appears to be the primary roster battle left.
Yeah, that seems like what's going on. There's still maybe some depth chart battles going on defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
maybe not on defense.
Just
the organizational
depth chart. It's not anyone who's going to be here right away.
Right.
But the first guy up is important, especially considering like we have Erik Johnson here not to play hockey. Yeah. You know, we're going to get you to 1,000 games, Eric, but
you'll play
after maybe 1,002 that's how many you're going to end up with. Anyway, it looked like at least last night, based on the lineups and based on how they've been used, it's a three-way dance for the last forward spot. Jett Luchanko, Olle Lycksell, Tony Dick, Anthony Richard, Tony Dick. We'll start with Jett Luchanko. Mm-hmm. All right. Now, I still want to see more, and that's Thursday.
Okay. I think he should get Thursday's game.
A week from Thursday. Probably not.
Right.
Or is it Friday the opener? Friday's the opener. So, yeah.
They leave for the trip on, I believe, Tuesday after practice. So, the roster is due Monday at 5 p.m.
He's just not ready to be a difference maker.
I don't think he is. At least he hasn't shown that he is in this preseason.
And listen, if they give him the 9 games, I'm not going to want the coach fired. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. But it just doesn't look like. I saw someone compare him to Tyson, maybe in your mentions today, honestly, a comparison to Tyson Foerster and how he was doing all the little things right, so Torts stuck with him, and then eventually we saw the Tyson Foerster we were hoping for about halfway through the year. And I kind of said that the other day, I think he's going to struggle in October and November, but I want to see where he goes from there. I don't think it'll be struggle. I think it'll be, does he belong out there? And physically, yeah, he can probably do it.
Yeah.
But he's just, I'm not seeing him do anything.
And I just think the comparison with Tyson Foerster, it's actually an interesting one because I do see some similarities where last year at camp, I don't think Tyson Foerster had a great camp last year. I think he had a fine camp. He played well defensively. He was strong along the boards. He won battles. He played good defense. The hockey IQ was obvious. Didn't score much. No. Wasn't really involved offensively, but he made the team. And that's driven, I think, some people to say, well, they put Foerster on the team and they let him figure it out. Why not do the same with Luchanko? The big difference between the two is last year, Tyson Foerster was 21 years old. He had just finished his first essentially full season
in the AHL.
And while I wouldn't go so far as to say he had mastered the AHL to the point where he was one of the best players, he had learned a lot.
He scored 20 goals.
It wasn't necessary for him to go back and dominate the AHL. Jett Luchanko just turned 18. To me, it's with Forster, it was, okay, this is the next step.
Yeah.
Even if he's not ready right away to excel, this is what he has to master. I don't think Jett Luchanko has yet mastered the OHL. So I don't, to me, it was, if he was going to jump a grade, like, if you're going to have, let me put it this way. If you're in 5th grade and you're a real smart kid in 5th grade and you get, on the end of year test, you get a 98. That's great. That's awesome. But it's not as if you got hundreds on every single test in 5th grade. Like, if a 5th grader gets a 98 on the final end of year exam, you're like, great, you're the smartest kid in the 5th grade. You're going to 6th grade next year. Whereas if you got 100 on every test in 5th grade, then they're like, yeah, maybe we should have a conversation with the parents and see if we jump you up a grade, because 6th grade, you're going to blow that away too. I don't think Jett Luchanko got 100 on every test, and I think he was going to have to do that, in my opinion, to gain a spot. However, he's still here. And even though I think he should not make this team, and I think you are even coming around on it, the one thing that, did you go back and listen to John Tortorella's post-game presser that he basically just did with Brian Smith, who is a Flyers PR person?
I did not.
Because Brian Smith was the only person there to interview him. Do you know the meme where it's Gordon Ramsay and he's saying to the kid, like, oh, it's okay, everything's going to be great, and then he's yelling at the adult, and it's just like, you effing donkey?
Yeah.
His response to, because Brian Smith asked him, I don't even think it was Brian Smith, it might have been a traveling media person, asked him, what did you think of Anthony Richard and Jett Luchanko? And his response, he first answers Anthony Richard, and it was, yeah, he's had a good camp. I don't know if he's going to be with us. He had a good camp.
Okay, I did see that, yeah.
And then immediately switches to, yeah, Jett, he's impressed us so much. He's been so good. Maybe didn't have the best game tonight, but man, he's been good. He's caught our attention. It was just very much like, all right, this Richard guy, yeah, effing donkey, whatever. This Luchanko kid, though, man, I love him so much. So I still think Torts is going to go into that room and make his case as to why Jett Luchanko should make this team, because he seems to really, really love this kid.
And I get it. Especially, they need centers. I understand this. He doesn't believe they have any. Well, he thinks they have one, and it's their 4C.
I think he's unsure on everyone.
He really likes their 4C. That tells me he doesn't really care much.
His answer to a question today about Sean Couturier, but do you think Sean Couturier looks good and is ready for the season and is ready to be first half Sean Couturier? His answer was, I hope so. John Tortorella is not a fan of the centers.
Why did he name this kid captain? What? He doesn't like Sean Couturier. It's maybe, it's Torts. He's got different levels for everybody.
There are levels to this,
But when I see these three guys,
yes,
Jett Luchanko, yeah, I've been impressed as well, but it is on that curve at this point. I have been impressed that he has held his own against men when he is...
I am too.
He's a child.
Yeah. He turned 18
he just turned 18.
A month and a half ago.
Yeah,
I am very impressed.
He's a senior in high school, and he's holding his own against men. That is very impressive. I think we have Shady Rays. The future is bright later. But future is definitely bright for Jett Luchanko, and I am higher on that pick than I was a few months ago. The other two, though, have kind of made a case for themselves. We'll start with Olle Lycksell. My question with him, and I guess it's kind of the same for Richard, but I just feel like Richard fits the mold more. He's 27. He scored well at the NHL level. Never really got a shot.
AHL level.
AHL level, yeah. Has some NHL experience, but never really caught on. He just seems like a guy, if it's going to be a 13th, 14th forward situation, he kind of fits the mold to me. Whereas Olle Lycksell, I know he's not a prospect, but it seems odd for him to be sitting, for what could be extended periods of time. What kind of role do you think they would have Lycksell in?
It's a reasonable point, but I do think we may need to adjust. Part of the reason why I think it feels weird to have Lycksell sit is because he was a prospect in this organization. They drafted him. They developed him. Now, granted, a lot of that development happened overseas when he was playing in the SHL, but he was drafted and developed. He spent the last 2 years in the AHL. So it feels weird to call him up and have him sit for a while. That said, he's 25 years old.
He is.
Okay? He's no longer waiver exempt. This is the age where it's okay. Like, he's cooked. And I don't mean cooked in the bad way.
No,
I mean,
yeah, like
he has been put in the oven and he is cooked. This is who he is. And I don't know what more he has to learn with the Phantoms. I think he is at the point where he probably learns more skating in practice and being in Torts' tape study sessions than he would being point per game for the third straight year with the Phantoms.
That's the, like, yeah, it might feel weird because he's a prospect, but the only way for him now to get better, and it'll be, moderately, is NHL experience.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing really missing for him.
Totally agree.
Is having that.
Yeah.
So I get it. I guess it's because we have looked at him all this time like, well, he could be a boat.
Yeah.
And
He's
it
a
turns out it's not always a boat behind the mystery door.
He's no longer by our top 20 list,
Yeah.
what we do twice a year, me and Alex Appleyard. He graduated from that list because he had played, I believe, in 10 games or more in 2 NHL seasons. At that point, you are no longer Calder eligible. That's what we use. If you're no longer Calder eligible, you are no longer a prospect. Olle Lycksell is no longer a prospect by that definition. So now, adding in the fact that he's 25, adding in the fact that he's had, I guess at least 4 or 5 years of top-level professional experience because he played in the SHL for a few years before he came over to the AHL. He is very pro-experienced. He's in his mid-20s. He's no longer waiver exempt. To me, this is his time where I'm no longer worried. I'm no longer looking at him the same way I look at Emil Andre. Where I look at Emil Andre and I say, what's the point of keeping him as the 8? He needs to play every day. I don't think Olle Lycksell needs to play every day for it to be worth his while to be in the NHL.
It's not a development thing.
Exactly.
Now. Like, it's just, you're going to get better because that's what happens when you continue to play in the NHL. You figure out what you can do in the NHL and you can be more consistent. But that's pretty much it in terms of his development. The kid's 25.
I just think that with the difference between Lycksell and Richard, yes, Richard is 2 years older. But the biggest difference really between the two is that the Flyers drafted Lycksell and they signed Richard. Yeah. But if Lycksell doesn't make it this year, let me put it this way. If Olle Lycksell, whether he makes the team or not, if he doesn't stick with the Flyers, there's a world where Olle Lycksell is the Anthony Richard of the Minnesota Wild at next year's Minnesota camp. And then they're saying, well, yeah, you can put him on the team. He's the perfect 14th forward because they have no investment in him the same way that we don't feel any investment in Anthony Richard because he was another team's drafted and developed prospect in the way that Lycksell is the Flyers drafted and developed prospect.
I assume right now that Nick Delorier is going to play early in the season.
We shall see.
We'll see. And this is just my assumption because, Danny Briere is telling us, he's showing him D-Lo fights on the ride back from New York and be like, this is your new best friend.
Exactly.
It's not as if they don't have other guys. They have Garnet Hathaway. They have Nick Seeler. There's plenty of guys who can stick up for Matvei Michkov.
Apparently Sean Couturier.
Yeah, Sean Couturier apparently on that list.
He's embracing his new fourth line role.
But are we going to have a situation like maybe early in the season where Delorier is in, Lycksell is in, and that means we have 2 pretty well-established NHLers not on the ice?
Could be. There are going to be guys, I believe, who are going to have to... Look, we're a year removed from Morgan Frost sitting for 2 weeks. John Tortorella is not scared to scratch people who we don't think should be scratched. It's what he does. He thrives on it.
Morgan, they're all such different situations. It seemed like he was just kind of being petty with Sean Couturier last year.
I think there was a little bit of that, maybe.
And yes, and Morgan Frost, that's a Morgan Frost issue. Whatever it is that Morgan Frost does that drives the coach nuts, he does it enough that he's like, I'm not playing you. Right. And he does it on a regular basis.
But I guess what I'm saying is you can't see a scenario where Bobby Brink is the new Morgan Frost or Joel Farabee is the new Morgan Frost. Those guys, there have been stretches where it's very clear John Tortorella has been annoyed with them.
Oh, yeah.
They could very easily end up in the Tortorella doghouse that Tortorella claims doesn't exist.
That doesn't, yeah. Sure. Sure. Okay. It just that would be crazy. Yes, we have seen Joel Farabee play a 36-second game because he makes a bad play on his first shift, and it's like, well, you get to sit here the rest of the night. But the idea that he could be out of the lineup seems insane. And I know that the coach is insane, so that's fine.
What I was gonna say.
The coach is out. You just looked at me like, and? And? Yes, I get it. It's just like, I'm fine with it. Like, yeah, everyone's got to earn their ice time, and this is John Tortorella's thing. It just seems weird.
Yeah, it would seem weird. But as you say, if you've decided, and I don't know if they've decided this one way or the other, but if you decide that Nick Deslauriers needs to be in the lineup because you need him in there to be on the bench in case someone roughs up Michkov, and you need Deslauriers to go over there and be the cop. Okay, I get why you think that's important. I think there are other guys who could do the job, but fine. If he's in, someone's going to have to come out. It might be a Noah Cates. It might be a Bobby Brink. It's not going to be like a Ryan Poehling or Garnet Hathaway. Number one, because the coach loves them. Number two, and this actually, this is part of it, to give the coaches some credit. It's not just that John Tortorella loves those guys. It's that both of those guys are key aspects of the penalty kill. So
they have specific roles.
Whereas, if Bobby Brink isn't on the power play, and he might be, he might not be, but if he's not, suddenly it's like the only thing keeping you in the lineup is your even strength play. Like that, I think, was one of the things that hurt Frost, was that they viewed him as replaceable on the power play. He wasn't on the penalty kill. And then, of course, the coach had his issue with him. So it was like, well, he's easier to pull out than a Ryan Poehling who's on the penalty kill and has a key role on that. So that plays into it. But Bill, yes, the idea of scratching Bobby Brink for 2 weeks or Joel Farabee for 2 weeks or Sean Couturier or whoever, yes, it seems crazy. But this is John Tortorella we're dealing with. If they want to get Olle Lycksell in a game, assuming he makes the team, if he's the guy, they're going to have to bring somebody out. They're probably going to play Lycksell in the top 9. So who's going to come out? Is it going to be Joel Farabee? Is it going to be Bobby Brink? Does he want to send a message to a bigger name? It's John Tortorella. Literally everything is on the table at all times.
It is. There's one thing we know for sure about John Tortorella. He's got very little chill.
Extremely little chill.
And that's why some of his players this season are probably going to have to choose chill. And there's no better way to do that than with an ice-cold Coors Light. Listen, between work, social media, life, it's no wonder we're just constantly worked up. Coors Light celebrates rising above and choosing a chill mindset. And this team, they drive us absolutely nuts. We've been doing this a long time. It's not getting any less ridiculous around here. That's why sometimes I need to choose to chill. And there's no better way to chill than with that ice-cold Coors Light. So whether you're freaking out about the 13th forward, the 14th forward, who's going to come out, who's going to go in, you need to find the Blue Mountains in your fridge and enjoy a beer as cold as the Rockies. Because when everything surrounding your favorite hockey team is on fire, sometimes you just got to chill. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/PHLY Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. And while we're here, when you're chilling, you got to have those great shades. You got to get those Shady Rays sunglasses. You got to get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. Plus, if your shades ever go lost or missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Now we go to the defense, Charlie.
Okay. Torts had a lot to say about the defenseman.
I mean, Adam Ginning, he just came out and said he's had a bad camp. Oof, that's rough. He said he had him penciled in at that 8 spot. That was our guy. Yeah. And now he's not.
Sure
it's Emil Andre.
Sure ain't.
That's rough, but it is kind of what we've seen. I mean, Adam Ginning has not been good.
That's the thing. And again, we can have our jokes about John Tortorella.
Yeah.
We can. But it is fair to say that John Tortorella sees what we see most of the time. Like, I think the decision to scratch Sean Couturier was wrong, but it's not like Tortorella was wrong in seeing that Couturier wasn't playing
He was playing poorly.
Yes. Like, that was objectively true. I got why he was frustrated with him. Anybody who is, and a shout out to the sickos, anybody who's been watching all these preseason games, all of them, knows that Adam Ginning has been playing like crap. He had a decent game. I thought the first game in Washington, he played in that game. He was fine. Ever since then, he's been trash.
They won 6-2. Everyone had a great game.
Everyone had a good game. Ever since then, because after that game, that's when they made first cuts. And that is when Ginning was placed in the NHL group at practice. That's when you're like, oh, okay, Ginning's got a chance here. They like him. They're clearly thinking highly of him after the first portion of camp. Every game he's been in since then, he's been bad. And it's really just been varying degrees of bad. It's been from, he wasn't that good, to, oh my God.
Because he's never gonna look the way we want Jamie Drysdale to look, or like Shane Gostisbehere, a rookie here. Like, that's never gonna be Adam Ginning standing out. Mm-hmm. But it's, all right, man, yeah, you need to make good, subtle defensive plays. And it's that no, you're doing the opposite of that. You're turning the puck over often. You are getting beat. Your man is behind you. Yeah. Like, these are the things you're supposed to be good at.
Exactly.
You play a role, like, you're going to have a specific role. It's this. You're doing that thing poorly. Like, yeah, man, he's going to not be the best puck handler because he's not. Yeah. But if he can't do this stuff, and that's what we've seen, he's not executing defensively, and that just means he's not very good. Like, if he can't do that, then what is he?
Yeah. Ginning, this really does seem like a missed opportunity for him. He had his chance, and he might get another chance. Yeah. Like, he's clearly not going to make this team. Tortorella's made that abundantly clear, both with his actions and his words. Ginning ain't on the team. But that doesn't mean he can't get a shot in season if he has a good start to the Phantom season, if there's injuries, if maybe some of the other prospects down there aren't playing well and he's the only one playing half decent. He could earn himself a chance, and he could change the narrative. But this just feels like a major missed opportunity for him because it was all laid out for him. You know, Emil Andre is the better prospect. He's a better prospect than Adam Ginning. Ginning started off the second half of camp a leg up on Andre, and he could have parlayed that into maybe not even a roster spot, but at the very least, the preferred call-up option when the first guy gets injured. Instead, now he's behind Andre. And where I said a couple days ago that I think Andre's in a position where he's the first call-up if it's, you know, York or Sanheim or Drysdale goes down. Now, I wonder if he's the first call-up option even if Risto goes down. Because they're like, look, you're the only defenseman, young defenseman at this camp who showed us anything. So if anybody gets hurt, I don't care if it's a big dude, a physical dude, Emil, you're coming up because everyone else stunk.
Yeah, we'll rework the pairs. Yeah. Like, we'll figure it out so that if it's Risto, like, all right, maybe you're with Zamula, maybe you're with someone else, but we will figure it out. And that's what the coach said today. It was funny. Like, Tortorella says Emil Andre wins the eighth spot, the eighth defenseman, but they're not carrying 8 defensemen.
Yeah, I came right back. A couple questions later I asked, because I'm trying to figure out who's going to make this team.
Yeah.
So he says Emil Andre is the 8th defenseman. You can carry 8 defensemen if you want. Teams do it. So I asked Tortorella, you know, going on this road trip, I know obviously Danny's a GM, but would you want to carry 8 defensemen on this road trip? And before I was even finished answering the question, he just says no. And then he explains, not only do I not want to carry 8, there's a world where I would dress 5 defensemen if guys get hurt on the trip. Like, it's John Tortorella. Like, that was wild.
I love this
because the only game I remember him dressing 5 defensemen was the game where he basically told Tony DeAngelo, you're never playing for my hockey team.
You're not on the team anymore. Like, your checks are still going to say Philadelphia Flyers. You're not playing for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah. But Torts basically said, look, like, I would rather take 14 forwards than take 8 defensemen, to the point where if injuries hit on the trip, I'll deal with starting 5 defensemen. I'll manage.
We're putting Fedotov's going to be playing out. It's just I like, part of me is like, I've said plenty of times, when it's time to win, I need a coach other than John Tortorella.
Right.
There's another part of me that really wants him to coach forever.
Well, for our show, it's probably a very good thing because John Tortorella will always give us content.
Like if
always.
they're going to go and hire one of these coaches that doesn't say a damn thing, and it's going to be a real bummer when we lose John Tortorella.
You're not wrong. So I think we can write off the defenseman.
Yeah.
Andre, they come out of camp feeling good about him. Tortorella had positive things to say about Emil Andre today. He more or less said, he kind of quietly, he hasn't been flashy, but quietly has had a good camp. We're happy with Emil Andre. Then he obviously said, Adam Ginning has had a bad camp. But then everybody else, he more or less said, we're disappointed that no one else has stepped up to meet the moment. None of the other young-ish defensemen. So we're talking about Oliver Bonk. I think he was legitimately disappointed in Bonk. I think he was hoping Bonk had the Luchanko camp.
Yeah.
And instead, Bonk does not look ready, which is not the end of the world. He's still a good prospect.
He's 19.
He's just not ready.
Yeah.
And I think Torts was hoping he was going to be able to bang the table for him in these end-of-camp meetings. He can't do that because he sees it. Bonk ain't ready. Hunter McDonald, another guy that I think the front office was hoping was going to have a better showing than he did. I don't think he's been terrible, but he's not ready either. He didn't show it. Helge Grans hasn't shown it. Obviously, Adam Ginning hasn't shown it. Like, there are a lot of guys.
Ronnie Adder
didn't even make it through camp.
Who we thought was going to get you're waiver exempt. Like, we thought there was a possibility. It was like, you're the waiver exempt guy, so we'll see how this goes. He was one of the first cuts.
Yeah.
They waived him right away.
Yeah. There were a lot of guys on defense that came into this camp that are in their, mid-20s, that this could have been their chance to really carve out. Maybe not make the team, but make them think of, man, I know we have 7 already, but God, Adam Ginning was real good in this camp. Like, do we have to bench Zamula for game 1 because Ginning has been that good? No one has made them think to that degree. The only guy who's even made them consider it is Andre. And the way they look at it with Andre is, number one, he's been good. He hasn't been incredible. And he needs to play games.
He's the guy who needs to play.
So he's going down, but he's going to get the pat on the head like, good job, be ready. The other guys are going to be, not so good job, get your shit together.
Like, what I'm envisioning now with the way he talked about the defenseman is... Yeah, it might be Andre, but we also might be in a Louis Belpedio situation again. Like, none of you guys earned it. It's going to be him.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
You're not wrong.
You lost out. Like, you ruined, you spoiled this opportunity. There will be more. And like you said, like, Adam Ginning could very well play this year. Yeah. This is the Flyers. Guys are going to get hurt. Like,
it's an NHL team.
Yeah, like, it's a John Tortorella team where you have to block 100 shots.
It's fair.
Like,
fair point.
People are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
He'll get a shot probably, but not if there's guys ahead of him.
Not right away.
He's not the first call.
Yeah, so Andre leads the defense, but Torts straight up said he doesn't want to keep 8. So that removes Andre from the running. I think we saw both at the end of the game last night and then also this morning, we got strong hints that Tony Dick ain't making the team either. And here's why. Number one, after the game when he had the conversation with Brian Smith and whoever that other reporter was that was up there, he basically said, and I thought this was very telling, he said something to the extent of, he might not be here for the start. That tells me he's probably not going to be here for the start, and Torts is just like showing his hand a little bit.
Yeah.
And then today, Anthony Richard was not with the NHL group. So to me, we know most likely Richard isn't going to make it because we straight up were told it essentially, and then he's not with the NHL group, he's with a small group. Torts straight up told us today that Andre, he doesn't want to carry 8 defensemen. So unless somebody gets hurt, he's not making the team. I think this is down to 3 possible options. Either they keep Jett for the 9 games, they keep Olle Lycksell, or they just go with 22. And they send Lycksell down, they send Luchanko back, and they say, okay, we're going to go 13 forwards, 7 defensemen. We have 1 extra at each of the positions, and we're going to go on this trip. And, hey, if there's another injury, we can fly somebody across the country.
Again, it's weird. It's John Tortorella. He'll do it just to make a point.
Right.
But, like, you have 4 straight West Coast games to start the season. You're as far from home as you can get.
Yeah.
Just bring as many guys as you're allowed.
Why not take
just
as many guys?
Bring as many guys as you're allowed. What, are we saving money on hotel rooms here?
I would have to think, like, if I was going to bet, I would bet Lycksell makes the team. Because that just seems to make the most sense. He's no longer waiver exempt. I don't think he's going to get claimed, but there's a single-digit chance that maybe someone is
non-zero.
And he's had a good camp. Not an amazing camp, but he's had a good camp. To me, why not?
He's a good player.
But we'll see how they do.
Give him a shot, but we'll see. So do you think it's Luchanko v. Lycksell? Like it's one or the other, maybe?
Well, again,
or neither.
Or no one.
Or neither.
Yeah, one or the other or neither.
Okay.
But I don't think there are any other names, realistically, that are in the mix unless an injury pops up and then they have to shake things up.
All right. Let's talk about something that was a bright spot for this team last night. That's something the goaltender, Sam Ersson.
Yeah.
Listen, it's 2 preseason games. Last night, however, he stopped 30 of 32 against what was a primarily NHL lineup for the Boston Bruins. He looked really good. That's with his 37 save shutout last week, good enough for a .971 preseason save percentage. Sustainable?
I know you're not a math guy, Bill, but that seems pretty good.
It seems high.
Seems pretty good.
And that's like to get into the I broke it down by period, but just he had to make 16 saves in the first period.
They did not show up.
They were not good last night. But just looking
at the second period was passable. The first period was horrible, and the third period wasn't much better than the first.
No. Looking at what he's done, and again, it's preseason. It matters this much in the grand scheme of things, but we have big question marks about the goaltending position and what the hell to expect from it.
So does John Tortorella.
And yeah, John Tortorella said the other day, the goaltenders scare the hell out of me. Like direct quote.
Yeah.
Sam Ersson given the coach some reason not to be all that afraid, at least through his preseason performances. What should realistic expectation, like, can we even put realistic expectations on this goal? Like, we'll just go with just Ersson right now because at least we've seen a full season of him.
Yeah.
Like, first 20 games, I know that the full season numbers were bad. 49 starts, 51 total games, .890 save percentage, did have the 4 shutouts. 3 of them came in the first 20 games when he had a .911 save percentage.
Right.
Like, it was a bad, we all know the narrative and why we think it happened, why he fell off so bad, because he just had to play every single game.
Yeah.
But there is something there with him. Like, he's got some serious skill. Can he be a number one? Is he a franchise goalie that'll win you a cup? I guess that remains to be seen. But he's an NHL goaltender. That's what I've seen out of him. Do you think there's more? Like, can we expect more than average this year?
I think the reasonable expectation for Sam Ersson is to be a league average starter. I think that is reasonable. And league average, this again, worth remembering, it's not what he used to.
It's not 9, 10, 9, 11 anymore.
I'm looking at this, and I don't think this includes everything. Like, I don't think this necessarily includes empty net goals, so it's probably a little lower than what the actual goaltender league average is. Last year, the league average save percentage was .898, so just a hair under 900.
Wow. I thought it was like 901, 902.
Yeah.
It was 898.
898. So to me, a reasonable expectation for Ersson is right around 900.
900.
Now, do I think he can be better than that? Yeah, I absolutely think he can be better than that. He was better than that the first half of the year. He was better than that up until the point where they ran him into the ground. But I think that's a reasonable expectation, and I think if he delivers that, I don't think he's going to be the reason why the Flyers flop.
Okay.
Whereas if he is solidly in the 8s, and that's where he is from the start all year, yeah, then you've got to look elsewhere. You've got to say, all right, well, maybe we give Kolosov a look. Maybe we, see what we accelerate the timeline for someone like Carson Bjarnason for next year. But if he ends up somewhere in the 900 to 910 range, I think that is enough where you can comfortably say he should be part of the solution. Now, whether that is as a tandem goalie or a backup or something, I don't know. But that's good enough for me to say he should be part of the solution. Now, if he's over 910, then you're like, oh, man, they might have their number one.
Sign him.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
But I think reasonable expectations for Ersson, even after the strong preseason, is around league average, and then you hope he's better than that.
So 971, probably not sustainable.
It might be tough.
Speaking of goalies, we got to talk a little bit about the future, because why not put on those rose-colored glasses and explain just a little bit of the reason why the future is bright for our Flyers, brought to you by Shady Rays. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY at checkout for 35% off polarized Glasses.
I love this.
Speaking of,
I love this segment.
Yeah, it's nice.
This is a really good segment.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Like I said, Charlie, speaking of goalies, Egor Zavragin, huh?
Hell yeah.
He turned 19 August 23rd.
He's a Luchanko type.
He's a Luchanko.
He's young for his draft.
So he was
year, yes.
he was really young draft year. What Luchanko is 8/21 and Zavragin's the 23rd. So he's a year older, but he was drafted a year before.
Right.
So he's a really young 19 now.
Yes.
In the KHL, posted his first career KHL shutout the other day. 36 saves. He's off to a .938 save percentage in his first 5 games for Sochi, 226 goals against. Man, we've talked about this goalie crop before. Yeah. And it's like they really believe in Kolosov, but that's kind of an internal thing. And like the outside world's like, he's good. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
There's some people who like him, but it's not universal.
Yeah, the guys they have now, it's all right, we'll see what Ersson is. Fedotov, it's just, okay, well, he was pretty good in the KHL. Time to give him a shot. Bjarnason, they like his tools, and honestly, I liked what I saw out of him in camp and in the rookie games and stuff. Looks good.
Fair.
But if there was that Sorokin in this group, that's just that guy you find, and then in a few years he comes over and he's your franchise goalie. It could be Zavragin. Not saying he is, but he looked like the guy. Like if there is one in the group, it's him.
Yeah, I think so.
It's only 5 games. Like,
very small samples,
goalies have hot streaks. You know, Brian Boucher had the shutout record for a long time. Yeah.
We love Bouch.
I love Bouch, but he's not Dominic Hasek.
Fair point. I don't think even he would say that.
You know, Bouch is one of my favorite players ever. He's not in the Hall of Fame. You know, he is in my heart.
Love that for you. And Bouch for that.
It's only 5 games, but yeah, he looks like he could be. He's 19 in the KHL. Like this is maybe the second best league in the world.
Yeah.
He's killing it.
He's doing really, really good. And I can tell you, and I don't want to say this to like denigrate the other goalie prospects in the Flyers organization. I think they have high hopes for Kolosov. They have much higher hopes than I did maybe before this camp for Bjarnason.
Yeah.
They like him a lot. I get the sense when I talk to people in the Flyers organization that, you know, they like those guys. Zavragin is man. We might have found something special.
We're all just killing time. We're all just killing time until Zavragin comes over. Like, is that the goaltending position we're in right now?
I just think there's an element to the organization where they're like he could be the feather in their cap. Where it's like, oh, you know how you jerks on that show keep saying how we don't have enough high end talent and we haven't gotten any steals in the mid rounds. Wait till you get a load of this guy.
Nothing would make me happier, Charlie, and the future certainly is bright. So keep an eye on Egor Zavragin. Obviously, we have become very familiar with the KHL in recent years, watching Matvei Michkov, watching Ivan Fedotov. Now, well, we still have another one. We still have another guy over there. Keep an eye on him. Future is bright. Check out ShadyRays.com.
And for those who are wondering about his situation, because I know this will come up. You talked about it a little bit yesterday. He is in the first year of a 3-year contract he signed with Michkov's old team. But here's the difference. They put him in, they traded for him, they signed him to a contract, and they immediately loaned him to Sochi. If he keeps this up in Sochi all year, they are going to be rushing to get him on their team. This is not a situation where they're going to be like, we don't really want this guy. If he keeps doing this, anybody who watched Michkov last year knows Sochi sucks. Yeah. They're real bad. And if he's putting up these kind of numbers in front of a trash team, you know what Ska's going to be thinking? Imagine if he's behind our guys. He's going to be the best goalie in the KHL. They are going to want him on that team. They are not going to let him out of that deal. So you're going to have to wait for this guy. You're going to have to wait probably the full length of the contract, which would not be at the end of this season. It wouldn't be at the end of next season. It would be after the season after that. So we're talking 3 years. He's not going to be the savior right away, but this start is very, very promising, and he's absolutely worth keeping an eye on.
It is Ska who has his rights, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I was checking. Sorokin didn't come over till 25. Shesterkin didn't come over till 24. So that's a thing. Yeah. Like they kind of keep them there until their contract. And For good reason.
Yeah.
Like, if you have the best goalie in the freaking KHL, you're going to win the championship. They're very interested in that.
Yeah.
And, like, what was it? Rottenberg kind of said that about Demidov. Like, yeah, you're not getting him.
Yeah.
Like, we're keeping him as long as we possibly can.
They said the same thing about Nikishin,
Yeah.
the defenseman. Like, Carolina wanted to do what the Flyers are doing with Michkov, and they're like, yeah, we'll talk about Michkov. That's fine. Nikishin, he's real good.
He's ours.
You're going to have to wait till that contract is up.
Yeah, you'll be negotiating with him, and so too will we.
Yep.
So we'll see. But Egor Zavragin, at least to start, looks like one hell of a third-round pick.
It does.
All right. Let's hit a little on last night's game. I have two. One is just an excuse, and one is a positive I took out of it.
Okay.
The excuse is, listen, man, it's a John Tortorella camp. It's the end of a John Tortorella camp after they just had to travel to Boston. They just didn't have it last night. There was a part of me, and I went like, was there any part of you watching that game last night?
Yeah, you can call it
where you were like thinking about our prediction show. You're like, ooh, maybe it was a no on the playoffs.
No, you know what my most sicko thought was about this, about watching last night's game? I was like, oh man, they still hate Torts. They're like, we'll play real well in preseason for all the assistants. We're cool with them, but we still hate Torts.
I hadn't even considered that. That is very funny.
That was my sicko conspiracy theory.
Oh my God. That's good. They were outshot 34-14.
Wasn't great.
When they've gone on the road so far this preseason, it's like they've sent the B team, and of course, you might lose to an NHL team.
Yeah.
It was two primarily NHL rosters last night, and they looked seriously outclassed. Now, to be fair, Boston was a 109-point team last year.
They were real good.
And they just added some pretty good players. Like,
I would expect Boston to make the playoffs again.
Boston is better than the Flyers.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 34-14 better. But I am going to blame it on, Boston's better and the Flyers have nothing in the tank. It's the end of a really long training camp in preseason.
I do think there is absolutely something to the fact that they're tired. And the fact that John Tortorella, because that was a game where one of the reasons why I rushed to watch his post-game interview is because I wanted to see if he would wreck the team. If he was just going to be like, that was embarrassing. I'm bag skating them in the morning. I know I said that Thursday was going to be an AHL roster, but it ain't going to be an AHL roster. They're all playing again.
No, that was...
I was wondering. And he came out there and talked to Brian Smith and basically said, yeah, they look like a tired team. And given how much work we've given them this camp, they should be tired.
Yeah. And that was honestly after a couple of drinks. But I sat through that game, so I'm not all that happy about it.
Right.
And I was like, screw it. Play them all against the River Rats on Thursday. They earned it.
And John Tortorella is the kind of person where if his anger was sparked, he could very well go to Danny and say, I want to play these guys. They don't deserve the day off.
No. The positive I took out of last night, because, they lost 4-1, but it was 2-1 and then a couple of empty netters. Yeah. Shots are 21-7, and that made the score. The seventh shot was Konechny's goal.
Right.
So they're tripling them up in shots at this point, but the score is 1-1, and that's what Michkov does for you. Yeah. It's not all the flashy plays and the big plays he makes. We expect teams to be ready for the Flyers this year, whether they snuck up on teams or not last year. This year they won't. But they do have the Michkov factor, and that's what Michkov allows for you, a chance to generate offense when everything is going to hell.
Yeah.
Like, last year it was, when they play their A game, they've beaten some really good teams. And when they have their B game, they get killed by anyone. Like, anyone. They had to have their A game last year to compete. And they did so pretty regularly, especially in the first few months of the season. Michkov now gives you that ability to, all he has to do is make one play. And that's what he did last night. It's not like he really stood out last night. But he made the one play to get the puck down low, and Konechny cleans up the rebound. And there you have it. It was a competitive game in which they were not, like, on an individual basis. Like, every battle wasn't all that competitive.
Yeah.
They were getting beaten up pretty good, but we're 1-1 because you have that one guy. And that's really what it does. It made me think of when the Eagles got T.O. And it was like, yeah, they were blowing everyone out. It was great. But actually, his biggest play of that season, that rock fight they were in against the Ravens, and he just makes that one play.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for, is that one play.
You know what came to mind for me? Because I think you made a really good point about the fact that, and this is, again, what you have when you have a theoretically high-end talent guy. Whether Michkov is going to be that guy from the jump or it's going to take him a year or two. It certainly looks like he has that skill level. He's checked every box this preseason. But when you were saying that, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of that game the Flyers played against the Maple Leafs in February, where first period, they honestly kicked the crap out of the Maple Leafs. It was domination. They're up 1-0. They're out shooting them like crazy. All the scoring chances, controlling the play. Leafs barely have the puck. And then in a 7-minute stretch, Austin Matthews just says, yeah, we ain't losing. And he scores 3 times. And it wasn't even like the team played well. It was just Austin Matthews just was like, nah, we ain't losing. And then he just did 3 really cool things in a 7-minute stretch. And then the Flyers just weren't winning. Like, it was over. They were, and it ends up going to overtime. But, like, that game is lost functionally because they had Austin Matthews and the Flyers did it.
I wondered what you were looking up over there, and it was a great use of your time.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder what game. Oh,
yep,
that one. Yeah, because it was
just
like a couple of shifts, and it was just okay. Well, that's that.
Yeah, like the Flyers were the better team in that game for 53 of the 60 minutes. But because in those 7 minutes, Austin Matthews went full Austin Matthews, they ultimately lost the game. And you're hoping that maybe Michkov can be. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Austin Matthews, but he can do that. He can, you can be outplayed for 22 minutes, and in the 23rd minute, he does something cool, and it's tied. And suddenly, the other team's demoralized because it's like, man, we've dominated for this whole game, and now the score's tied because they have that one dude. Man, it would be cool if the Flyers had that one dude.
69 goals, Selke runner-up. That's probably doable. Yeah. That's
very much in his wheelhouse.
Not quite 20 years old yet. Yeah, he can do that. Before we wrap up today's show, I do got to talk to you about Rothman Orthopedics. Joints aching, hands cramping, back out of whack? Rothman's got you. At Rothman Orthopedics, practicing specialized care has been their passion for over 50 years. Their mission, high-quality, compassionate, and affordable care rooted in research leading to new treatments and better outcomes. Each Rothman doc is laser-focused on their specialty: hip, knee, spine, you name it, they have a team for each body part right in your backyard. So you can cross over the defense, train jump shots, and root for our teams like no other fans in the country. They're Rothman Orthopedics, and they specialize in you. Probably should have rewritten that for hockey. But regardless, now I got to tell you about someone else that's never ordinary, and it's our friends at Bet365. We are very proud to be brought to you each and every day by Bet365, because Bet365 has 90 million users worldwide, and they live stream 780,000 events each year. And the thing I love, it's these early payouts, man. You can get them in the NBA, NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. In the NHL, maybe something like Charlie just described happened, and Flyers are up. It's looking good. Oh yeah, this is good stuff here. They're up 3-0. Well, you can cash out right now. Boom, you're a winner, and you don't have to worry about maybe one of the best players in the league just having 7 minutes on fire and totally crushing your dreams. Doesn't matter, because with Bet365, you get those early payouts. Your team gets a 3-goal lead. You can win an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. Download the app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. There it is. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. Wif you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, that's that. So yeah, those were the takeaways I chose to look at last night. Okay. They're tired, and even though they played bad, Michkov did the one thing he needs to do to make this at least a game.
Yeah, and he wasn't great in that game. No one really
absolutely
was.
No one was
But
good.
he did make one play, and it wasn't entirely him. Obviously, Konechny cleans up the trash, scores the goal. But Michkov is the one who creates that goal.
And he just gets pucks to dangerous areas like nothing I've ever seen. Like, it is his whole mission in life to get pucks to where they need to go to generate points. Like, he is going to generate. That's why if you can still find the 46.5, 47.5, whatever it was, like, bet the over, man. Because unless he gets hurt, he's hitting that. Because he just, like, or he shoots 2% this year. Like, that's how he's not going to hit these totals. Because he is just constantly where you go to get points. He's really special. I am very much looking forward to getting to cover the next 15 years of Flyers hockey.
We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully he gets off to as good of a start to the regular season as he has in the preseason.
Hopefully last night was his floor.
Yeah.
Just 1 point instead of 2. I guess I'll take 82 points. Yeah, instead of 164. I suppose I'll take that from him. Did you have any other takeaways from last night's game, Charlie? I don't want to focus on it too much because it was a freaking bummer.
Not really. The only thing I will point out, and I have this in my my post-practice notes video, which should be out in the next couple hours. There were a couple injuries that popped up during the game. Nick Seeler and Tyson Forrester. It seems like, and again, keep your fingers crossed on this, it seems like they avoided major issues with both. Seeler's fine. We actually talked, me and Jordan Hall talked to Nick Seeler in the locker room. This is like the nicest dude. And he literally showed us where the puck hit him. And he was like, it basically hit him like, it was a pass. It wasn't even a shot. And Seeler was like, it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal. And then I couldn't feel my foot. And basically what happened was it hit him like probably right where a nerve is. Yeah. Like right in the back of his leg below the knee. And he couldn't feel his foot. And he tried doing the one shift at the start of the third period and was like, I have no feeling on my foot. Well, the feeling is coming back. It just seems like it hit him in a really, really weird spot. Seems like he's fine. Forrester's the guy where, look, only reason why I'm saying this is because it's the Flyers. They told us Samu Tuamala was day-to-day.
Haven't seen him.
He is just now getting back on the ice in a non-contact jersey. Tyson Forrester blocked a shot, played the rest of the game. He didn't really miss time, but he was not out on the ice at practice today. We asked John Tortorella. Tort said, he's just a little swollen, no big deal. But just keep an eye on it because it's the Flyers, and what to them is no big deal can suddenly become a week, 2 weeks, the rest of his career in the case of Ryan Ellis.
It just happens.
It just happens.
Rasmus Ristolainen, a little banged up. We still don't know what the hell happened to him.
Fair. According to Torts, it's fine. Both of them are good. I'm just saying with Forrester, the track record tells you don't fully trust that he is like just a little banged up and will be on the ice tomorrow. We'll
Forrester was getting some time on the PK last night.
He was.
I like that.
I just don't know if there's a spot available in the normal rotation, but he does strike me as someone who should be good on the penalty kill, aside from the fact that he's not quick.
He doesn't have. That's what I wanted to ask. Like, he doesn't have the speed I want up there because I have been thinking, man, what if we put Owen Tippett up there just as like he gets his.
They've thought about it.
He gets his stick on a. He gets his stick on a puck like he's gone. Yeah. There's no catching him. Yeah. But of course, you do also have to try to kill the penalty.
I've talked to Bradshaw, and Bradshaw has brought up the idea of we've wanted to get Tippett a look, but the thing is, and this is part of the result of the way they've built this team. There's so many guys on this roster that can kill penalties. Like Joel Farabee didn't look like a bad penalty killer a couple years ago. It's not like the reason why he's not on that unit is because he's bad at it. It's because there are other guys that are just ahead of him in the rotation. Yeah. He would love to kill penalties. They'd like him to kill penalties at some point. It's just when you've got Travis Konechny and Scott Lawton score all the shorthanded points. You've got Paling and Hathaway are legitimately good at penalty killing. Couturier is a former Selke winner. Noah Cates is like all about defense. He's like one of the best defensive players by advanced stats in the NHL. It's hard to break that rotation. So, I think Forrester could be a good penalty killer in the Sean Couturier mold. But to get in the rotation, he kind of has to push out actual Sean Couturier.
Yeah, and it's not as if there was times last year Coots wasn't in the rotation. True. This is a guy with 5 top 10 Selke finishes in his career. It's a competitive thing, but I like seeing Forster there because I just want to give him more opportunities because it seems like he can handle them. He's not maybe like the ideal guy, but we've seen him. The IQ makes up for the foot speed, and we've been saying that for a decade about Sean Couturier. So I guess we'll see how it goes. But I just something I noticed last night that I liked. I wanted to see what you thought about it. All right. Let's hit those super chats.
Super chats.
We might get out of here at a normal time today, Chuck. From Gary B. Sorry I missed some of the stream. Is Jett AHL eligible. No, he's not. He just turned 18. For juniors players, you have to be 20 or older.
The only way he could play in the AHL this season is if Jett's junior season ends before the AHL season ends.
Yeah.
Then, in theory, the Flyers could, but it would have to be after the Guelph Storm are knocked out of the playoffs too, assuming they make it. Then they could theoretically assign Jett to the AHL for a couple games at the end of the year because he's already on an entry-level contract. But a lot of times the schedules don't even line up. Like if Guelph makes it to the second round, Phantom season is probably going to be over by the time he gets done. But that is one way he could get in some AHL games. But no, they cannot assign him out of camp to the AHL. It's either he goes to the OHL or he stays in the NHL.
I believe Jeff Carter did that one year.
Did he?
Yeah.
It happens sometimes.
Yeah, just if the schedules line up.
If the schedules line up, it happens. Teams do it. It's not something that happens often, but it can happen.
It was just something I noticed the other day when I saw he had 2 years with the Phantoms. Oh, he played in the playoffs for the Phantoms the year in 03-04.
Okay.
They win the championship in 04-05 when him and Richards joined the team, and it's like our whole NHL team's on the Phantoms now.
Exactly.
Because it's the lockout.
But he was in two
But he was there the year before as well in the playoffs. I noticed that the other day. I was like, I don't remember that. But it was also 20 years ago. So
I think another reason why it doesn't happen a ton it happens, but it doesn't happen a ton. One of the reasons is because if you are a really good prospect in juniors, usually you either make your team really good and they go far in the playoffs, or you get traded to a really good team that goes far in the playoffs, and then you're playing into May, and by then your AHL team is done. So that's why it usually doesn't happen. In Jett's unique case, because Guelph is mediocre, it could happen, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a certainty.
All right. So he's not AHL eligible, which is kind of a bummer, but we'll just have to wait. Or not. Or he's going to make this team.
He makes it.
Yeah, he's still a possibility. All right. So from JH, with Boston taking a goalie from waivers, does Danny Briere try to get Swayman?
I love the ambition. I love the, whenever there's any player with any name available, well, could the Flyers get him? I really do not see a scenario where the Flyers are going to trade for and then give Jeremy Swayman
$80 million.
Yeah, like the money he seems to want.
Yeah,
I just don't see it.
There's conflicting reports on whether 8x8 has actually been offered, but let's say he wants more than that. Listen, Jeremy Swayman is really, really good. He's also only ever been a tandem goalie.
And he's also only ever been in Boston.
Who just held the Flyers, a team that's great at shot suppression and shot generation, to 14 shots.
I don't want to say that I know for certain that Ullmark and Swayman are products of the Boston system, but they are a very defensively sound team, and I'm sure they benefit at least a bit. And I am skeptical that Ullmark's numbers, for example, are going to be nearly as good in Ottawa as they were in Boston.
They just did this on Puck Soup. Boston, since they brought in this goalie coach in 07, 08, and they have this defensive structure. Yeah. Since then, by far highest team save percentage. And they've had some awesome goalies. Yeah. Tim Thomas, Tuukka Rask, these two guys now. They're good, but they're not all that worried about starting the year with Joonas Korpisalo, who stinks.
Fair.
They just think
Ullmark wasn't that good before he came to Boston.
He was fine, but he won a Vezina in Boston. I don't know, is that who he is? Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you. I thought we were going to wrap up and I wasn't going to have to do it today, but clearly that's not going to happen. Thank you very much to all of our diehards. If you're not a diehard, sign up at allphly.com. But for the ones who are, we couldn't do what we do here without you, so thanks. All right, from Adam S. I'm just talking for an hour about stuff that does not matter. I feel like it's been an unfair evaluation of McDonald and Bonk by making them play with each other instead of pairing each off with an experienced pro in preseason. Now I don't know what to think. Charlie, help me out, please. There is something to that.
There's something to it. I don't know. I tend to be more of the opinion that cream rises to the top, and if one of those guys was playing especially well, we would have seen it. Neither of them were. They both got different partners throughout camp, too. It wasn't like they were exclusively joined at the hip. Could they have benefited, if Bonk was playing with Cam York for a game and McDonald was with, I don't even want to say Drysdale, because Drysdale has been a mixed bag this camp too. The skating's been there. The mistakes have also been. If you would put, McDonald with Risto for a couple of games, I don't know, maybe, but I'm not going to absolve. I just don't think they're ready. I don't think either of them are ready. I don't.
Yeah.
And I think you can, this is important. I think you can look at the way that Oliver Bonk performed in this camp and say, he didn't have a great camp, but doesn't mean he's a bad prospect. It just means he's 19 and he's not ready yet. And that's not the end of the world. It's okay that he's not ready yet. It doesn't mean he's bad.
There's a reason World Juniors is like a 20-year-olds tournament. Right. There's a lot of really, really great players who aren't in the NHL by 20.
Yeah.
Like that happens.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right. Another one here from Adam S. Also, Risto for second pair, RHD. Drysdale looks horrible. He's the new Torts doghouse candidate for this year.
I don't think he's going to be in the doghouse in the sense that he's going to be regularly scratched, because I think everyone involved in that situation knows that he needs to play. Could I envision a world where he struggles and they start giving him third pair minutes? Sure, especially if Risto builds off of a strong preseason. But I don't see a world where he's getting scratched regularly, because everybody in the organization believes that he needs to play and he needs to get the developmental time that he really hasn't gotten the last few years.
Sealer Risto pair would be that'd be something.
I mean, be a lot of truculence.
It would be. He's not. Drysdale has not looked good this I wouldn't say he's looked bad.
Flashes. I think he's been good on the power play.
Yeah.
And I think the skating is popped. He's made mistakes with the puck. And the thing is, he's always going to make mistakes with the puck, but he needs to make fewer.
He can make all the mistakes in the world with the puck. I just need the flash plays to outweigh it.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I can't say he's like blown me away with anything yet. But yeah, he has looked good in different elements. Yeah. All right. And finally, from Linden49, thanks, guys, for what you do for us diehards. Oh, it's Charlie, man. The diehard content is freaking unbelievable. It never ends. All right.
Just keep pumping it out.
And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for hanging out. If you haven't already, got to hit that subscribe button. Just follow us right here on YouTube. Set that reminder bell. Never miss a live show. We will have pre- and post-game for you tomorrow, so make sure you are hanging out with us as the Flyers wrap up their preseason slate. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast as well. Wherever you get those, just search PHLY Flyers. My name is Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. Until tomorrow, you stay loose and sexy, Philly.
We all silly like the mayor.